It's Saturday, December 17th, 2022. I'm in this. Um, this morning on CBS, they had a piece on I thought interesting, or like a PIECE on about Hanukkah. Um, Now, in my recent um, or some of the information I've been able to uncover on the televised piece in New York, um, in like I learned this word, anthropology, um, sort of a way. They've said on several of the publications um, that there are 12 tribes of Israel. I've heard that number used before, 12 tribes. I don't really know. I'm just a novice at this. So, um, just what I've been able to discover in the series of rooms that I've been in with what's being pumped into my target market, which I don't even know how to describe that or whatever. So, today they had on this piece, which I thought they did a really nice job. They did a compilation or summation. They have 16 in New York. They're reporting 16 different spellings of Hanukkah, which is interesting. Since there's only 12 tribes, I don't know how they got 16 spellings. It seems like there's four extra options. So, at like four headless horsemen conversation, perhaps. I'm just a little confused how this. I also noticed within the same time frame that when I first arrived in 1978, there was something a word that they used along with the word Jewish in a respectful manner called kosher. Kosher. No idea what it means, other than it had something to do with the way meat, dairy wasn't supposed to touch it, something along those lines. So respectfully, I just knew it existed, was not a real aficionado on it. In New York in the year 2022, I don't see this word kosher very much anymore, which frightens me in knowing what was around when I was a youth and how it's changed. I now see something called halal. It's a, it's a different way of killing an animal, is what I'm told. It's not necessarily the same as kosher. It's not like a replacement. It's kind of like, what happened to kosher and how did. I mean, it's. And when I asked what halal meant, it means that they cut an animal and bleed it differently, which is a frightful. Like, I only asked once. The one time definition was more than enough. Um, so that's interesting in what's going on in the local area, as far as changes that I see in the not too hard to discover kind of, like, I didn't have to go really looking for it. It's there. Um so I found this interesting on this channel too. And then at the end, the reporter actually says um how the station has changed, that when she was first there, it used to be spelled with a CH, and now they've changed to just an H, and they spell it Hanukkah. And I have no idea what that reference is. Again, I don't know if that's some of that like secret science that like the Santa Claus people do at St. Nick. Um, but I just found this piece really interesting, well done tastefully. And the fact that there's been a changeover, thought I'd add in the kosher bit because it's the only thing I've noticed outside of I don't know how to spell it. Again, I thought it was a CH, but I've seen it spelled both ways, and I really don't know many people or what it's about. So
Starts tomorrow night. Children will spin the dreidel, families will light the menorah, and some will debate an age old question: what's the correct way to spell the holiday in English? CBS 2's Tony Aiello has more on the seasonal spelling challenge.
Hanukkah, a holiday that lasts 8 nights, with at least twice as many ways to spell it in English. We made a list and checked it twice. 16 various spellings, each one returning thousands of hits on Google. So, what's the consensus spelling in the Jewish community? Is there
I should also mention there's this thing about the Santa. Um, they have this naughty or nice list that they mention. Not real clear on what that actually means in reality. Like, people went through the trouble of creating these things around these hallmarks, and then they're known about, they're spoken about, people joke about them, they carry them forward. But if you sit down and you ask, what does it actually mean? What does naughty and nice mean? Where did it come from? What's the origins of it? What does it mean? Is there such a thing? Like, outside of like this like mythology of like naughty and nice and Santa thing. Like, if you actually had Saint Nick in front of you, what does it actually mean to him?
Is there consensus about anything in the Jewish community? No, there's no consensus. Rabbi David Schuck at Bethel Synagogue Center in New Rochelle prefers Hanukkah. But even at his center, the Judaica counter spells it Chanukah. This is the word in Hebrew. Tet, nun, kaf, hey. So the transliteration of words in Hebrew is complicated into English because we have sounds in Hebrew that don't exist in English. When I was a kid, I think the CH spelling was more popular, and today I think the H double K spelling is more popular, more common. The Jewish rapper Kosha Dills has a sweater with the three most common spellings of Hanukkah and uses the confusion as lyrical inspiration. How you spell it, how you sound it, it don't matter how you gonna pronounce it. He's hosting a How Do You Actually Spell Hanukkah party next week.
How do you spell it? There's really only one way to spell it in Hebrew, but in English, there's a gazillion ways to spell it. And if it's someone's entryway into having a good time and meeting, people from different cultures and backgrounds, that's what it's like. And you celebrate different cultures, and everyone should, know a little bit of Hanukkah.
We like to just argue about these things, but in the end of the day, as long as you're bringing light into the world on Hanukkah, that's really all that matters. However you spell it, Happy Hanukkah. Tony Aiello, CBS 2 News.
And a little behind the scenes information on this. The spelling has been a topic in our newsroom as well. CBS 2 recently switched from the CH spelling to the more popular HKK spelling in order to be consistent with our network news division. Time now is 9:57. Much more news still ahead, including another.
So I found that interesting mention that to be more consistent with the network news. Again, basis of the reality and the construct of what that actually means. I wouldn't even know where to go to ask, like, how does that affect anything in New York? Is that a signal or a sign of the changing times? Like, what's the background driver of that? What is directing the change? What does it mean? What is it a signal of? And what will that then, depending on the answers, how will that make like the future of New York take shape or take form. But again, who do you ask these things of? Like, there's nobody to speak to. I mean, like, I get that the people already at the networks and who got jobs doing whatever, um, that they have their however it works. But for those of us out in the field, like again, I don't want to use the word exile because I don't even know how that calculates out into some reality for someone in someone's narrative. It feels like more waiting to exhale at this point. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxies, broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.